Happy Monday, guys, and with Monday comes another buy from MicroStrategy. We had an announcement today, Monday, that they acquired another 1,955 Bitcoin for $217.4 million, an average price of $111,196 per Bitcoin, and they have a Bitcoin yield this year of 25.8%. MicroStrategy now holds 638,460 Bitcoin for a total cost of $47.17 billion, with an average price of 73,880. Gordon. Now, looking at MicroStrategy on the chart, we are still in a clear downtrend. It has recently hit new recent lows. The trend is your friend. Follow the trend until told otherwise. I do think MicroStrategy has potential to continue going lower, but we do have some positives I want to show you. On the 4-hour, you see a clear bullish divergence. The price is hitting lower lows, but the RSI is starting to pick up and hit higher lows. I am watching this on the daily. It is starting to appear, but not there yet. You can see that the RSI hit a low here in late August, and it hasn't hit a new low since. Meanwhile, the price has gone lower. Of course, this could be invalidated if MicroStrategy drops more, brings the RSI back down, and it hits a lower low, but there's a potential that we get a reversal here very soon. And what I'm watching for that is a break of this trend, a break over this descending resistance here. But you can see that it got rejected here. After it broke it, you got a clear reaction. See that reaction? After it was rejected, you saw that we sold off a little more. I do think MicroStrategy is an okay ad here, and I said in a previous video, watch for a gap fill. Sure enough, we got it in the low 300s. If Bitcoin follows out its cycle and goes higher by the end of the year, which should be expected if you follow Bitcoin's cycle, September tends to be a rough month, and then we get a massive recovery to new all-time highs to end the year. The year following the halving was 2024, and this is the year following the halving. If we see a repeat of past cycles, we should see things top out by the end of the year, and I would expect MicroStrategy to go higher. Will it break its high from November 2024 in the nearly 550 region? I'm not sure. But I do think if Bitcoin plays out its cycle, MicroStrategy will outperform it moving forward and to end the year. And I do see MicroStrategy as a buy here. It's about 27% from its recent highs, and from its high in November 2024, it is about 40% down, versus Bitcoin's barely 10% down from its all-time high. When Bitcoin pulls back, MicroStrategy will pull back more so. When Bitcoin goes up, MicroStrategy has the potential to outperform, and I think it will outperform to end this year. But cautious investors might want to wait until we get a clear break of this trend, until we get a new direction that isn't down. Now, this week we do have CPI and PPI coming up. Last week we got some horrible job reports, making the Fed even more likely to cut, despite CPI, PPI, and PCE all being elevated far from the 2% Fed's target. PPI is coming out on September 10. Our previous read was at 3.3%. The market will be pleased to see this come in under 3.3%. If it comes in over 3.3%, the market will likely be very spooked. In a perfect world, we would see inflation start heading towards the 2% target of the Fed, which will give them more justification in cutting. If they're cutting just because of poor jobs, but inflation is still kind of running away, that is not a good sign. That is a sign of the economy faltering. And it puts the Fed in a very tough place because they have a dual mandate. They want to see inflation come down, and they want to see the labor market remain strong. If the labor market is weakening, but inflation is rising, it definitely puts them in a tough place. So we do want to see PPI and CPI, PPI here, going down under 3.3%, under the previous read. Just change its direction, not keep rising. And as for CPI, we do actually have a forecast. This is forecast to be 2.9%, which is actually higher than the previous month. So it would be ideal to come in under our forecast, and better yet, under the 2.7% previous read, although I find it sort of unlikely. If these both come higher, that will likely bring more fear, and it might bring a sell-off, even though we are very likely to still get rate cuts. But we're getting rate cuts because of job data looking so bad, not because of inflation going down to the Fed's target. And despite these inflation reads ticking up lately, we're seeing more likelihood of cuts because of the labor market. And there's still a 50 basis point cut on the table that we saw started from Friday's poor job reports. Leaving rates current isn't even on the table. If we see CPI and PPI start just flying away, going higher than their expectations, going much higher than previous reads, these likelihoods can obviously change, but at this time, it's pretty much set in stone that we're going to get a 25 basis point cut. We are literally days away from the Fed meeting, and these aren't going to change all that more from here. Looking at Bitcoin, it's actually been doing all right lately. It has been recovering from its lows at the end of August. Typically, September is a rough month for Bitcoin, but so far it's actually doing pretty good, which is a good sign. We broke our falling wedge here, and you did see that we got a reaction out of the market from this trend that we broke. We're still following our longer term uptrend that started here in April of 2025, and you can just see this clear pattern, and we did bounce at it right here. Now Bitcoin is heading towards its 50 MA. This will be one of the next things we need to watch for. Watch for a breakout. It looks like it's also getting rejected at this high here. We need to see a break over this kind of a lower high that we saw on our downtrend here. Once we can break that, we're going to test our 50 MA. If we can break the 50 MA, I do think we're going to start heading towards the top line of this channel, this ascending channel here, head towards 130,000. If that happens in September, I'll be quite surprised, to be honest. It might take a little while for us to regain the 50 MA. It might take all of September. We might get rejected first and head down, retest some certain lows, maybe test this on a pullback, retest 110, retest our ascending support here. But to me, things are looking pretty good for Bitcoin despite September typically being a bad month. Bitcoin, surprisingly, is only down about 8%, 9%. Nvidia's down more, last I checked at least. So that kind of tells you a lot that something as speculative as Bitcoin is holding up pretty well versus a lot of AI and tech stocks that are less speculative, that are profitable, that are massively profitable and continually growing revenue, continuing to become more profitable. Bitcoin, in some cases, is performing better. I do think when things recover, Bitcoin can outperform these things. And I've showed you guys this, but I really want to hammer this in. The end of this year, following past cycles, this should be the time that Bitcoin shines. Maybe you guys think things will top out in 2026, and it's definitely possible that Bitcoin breaks its cycle if we see a ton of institutional adoption, all these public companies continuing to announce Bitcoin treasury statuses and so on and so forth. The NASDAQ is trying to stifle that a bit. We'll talk about that in a future video. But if you trust in the cycle, if you believe things will top out this year, we should see a really good last couple of months. Look at 2021, a peak year. 2017, 2021, 2025. 2021, we saw a massive run into new all-time highs. September was a rough month, brought us down a bit. But then October, we saw a massive run to end the year. And same with the 2017 cycle. October, November, and December, both being fantastic months, bringing Bitcoin to a new all-time high at the time of nearly $20,000 before crypto winter. And yes, September was a bad month there as well. And the 2013 cycle, the 2013 top. We saw September was a little pullback. October and November were absolutely amazing. It topped out in November at the end of its peak year, which is a year after the halving. Our halving was 2024. Our peak year should be 2025 before the cycle repeats and before we get back into a crypto winter, if you believe in that thing. I don't hold a crystal ball. I don't know what'll happen in the future. I would like to believe in Bitcoin cycles and believe that we can get some great pullbacks in 2026, some great buying opportunities. It's very sad that last cycle was really the last cycle that retail can reasonably acquire one whole Bitcoin. You have to ask yourself, in this next bear market, where is Bitcoin going to bottom out at? Over the long term, Bitcoin will continue going up. You want to take advantage on any pullbacks. Maybe we'll get a crypto winter again. Maybe we'll just get small corrections. Take advantage of the corrections. Otherwise, always DCA in Bitcoin. You really can't lose. Wall Street is waking up to it. Publicly traded companies are waking up to the fact that Bitcoin is a very valuable asset. It is a scarce asset. And I do believe everyone should hold some Bitcoin in their portfolio. Sometimes we look very short term and we're worried about what'll happen next year. But think about what will happen in 10 years. That might make you more likely to want to just buy Bitcoin, hold Bitcoin, and ignore everything else. Ignore the noise. But anyways, thanks as always for watching, guys. How do you feel about MicroStrategy? Do you think this cycle they will reach 1 million Bitcoin, or will it take them a little bit longer? Anyways, enjoy the rest of your day, guys. I appreciate you, and I'll see you next time.